AEWxNJPW, Forbidden Door, and NXT Heatwave are in the books, and we're here to put the predictions to rest with this colorful post-show analysis. We look at the ups and downs, the odds, the evens, the ins and outs, the unanimous, and the absolutely lopsided in a fun post-pay-per-view discussion. Welcome to this unique forum. Hello, everybody, and welcome back here once again to Predictions Post-Mortem. I am the simple man of the simple brand, the voice of the SRS, forever grateful for all things professional wrestling. Damn it. And my name is Noah Foster. With me, as always, is my fellow statistical friend. He is Papagino. Hope you all enjoy the conversations. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend. And again, if you want to lend your thoughts towards predictions, whether you were part of the leagues or not, please let your thoughts be known in the chat. And if you want to further support us, PayPal or Super Chat, as simple as that. That being said, Gino, good to see you once again, man. Double feature this time. How you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. I am looking forward to laying to rest the weekend of wrestling that we had before we come. This is one of those rare opportunities that we're going to do 2 weeks in a row, right? So that's going to be fun. Anybody that's looking for the Major Push Wrestling podcast, we'll have an episode coming for you, just not today because the Post-Mortem, we have a certain amount of time to get this done, to do this burial, and we want to honor the fallen events. And I look forward to seeing what happened. I did a little bit of research on seeing what people thought and did this, but I am looking forward to really doing a deep dive here. And with all of you guys watching, whether you're watching on Noah's channel or my channel, don't forget to hit that like button. Give us a subscribe. Means all of the world to us. So we appreciate you.
Yeah,
Noah?
And y'all make this possible too. And again, I've been doing this since 2017 when it comes to statistical data analysis, flow charting, and bookkeeping. So as I put these, of course, to bed in my library, as you see here, not necessarily my background, but maybe the virtual background, more fitting. Why don't we go ahead and get right into it? So we'll start off with the first show that, of course, was covered as Sunday was a double feature, which shows were back to back, and that was AEW Forbidden Door. As always, it consists of the All Elite section of the WWE team. By the way, Gino, welcome to the league because that was your debut. And here's how things broke down, actually. Some of the matches were not quite unanimous. One match, once again, nobody got fracking right. And I do think the TV championships were probably the most obvious, as well as the return of Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. As now 13 people consist of the All Elite League. Here you see the breakdown. The biggest lopsided nature clearly was the tag title match, as you see a little bit more of varying slight differences amongst the higher marquee matches on the show regarding the World Championship. So, Gino, I think the most fitting place to start is, again, like we did at SummerSlam, everybody got it wrong. The triple threat for the tag team titles. FTR hurts to get Brodito. Brodito's newest tag team on the scene. FTR, Brodito went to a 30-minute draw ahead of this. And, of course, the Hurt Syndicate were walking in as champions. And a triple threat, of course, we know the champions come in with a disadvantage. But they weren't even involved in the decision. They weren't even at ringside for this because of an ultimatum of payback by somebody that was embarrassed by the Hurt Syndicate in Ricochet. Now he's got backup. He believes that he can actually hurt them. But, again, nobody thought that Brodito was going to win this. I think more so the mindset was Brodito was going to be the fall people. In my mindset, though, I thought the Hurt Syndicate were going to retain, putting FTR to the side for now, because I think heel versus heel dynamic is something you don't often see in wrestling, and I didn't think they were going to pursue it. So, again, you went with FTR. I went with the Hurt Syndicate retaining, so we both had different mindsets here. What was your thinking?
Well, my thinking as somebody who's not super plugged into AEW, was obviously my first time doing a prediction submission for AEW. I figured there would be new champions. So I was right a little bit. I just got the team wrong. I didn't think that it made sense for a team that, A, I didn't really even know who they are, and B, that it would go to them. I thought for sure FTR, one of the, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, you can't deny they are amazing in the ring. I thought it could have gone Hurt Syndicate or FTR, so I mean I wasn't winning this either way. But it seems like down the board, nobody thought they were going to give it to the new guys. This is almost like a repeat of the Machine Guns winning the championship super early on in their tenure in WWE. But this is professional wrestling. So if they can do something with this decision, maybe I'm not as upset about getting it wrong. The thing is, in a vacuum, it doesn't necessarily feel as somebody who's not super plugged into AEW, it doesn't necessarily feel like that was the right choice. And I know you're saying, oh, Gino, that's just because you got it wrong. Listen, Hurt Syndicate winning, I think would have been a fine choice too. So right now I'm a little befuddled as to why they went that way, but hopefully there's some plan in place, and this is AEW's opportunity to fill in the void that WWE is leaving by all of their switching and streaming and stuff. So yes.
Yeah, and also for the first time in a long time since Private Party, we have two AW original wrestlers that actually hold the tag team championships, not former WWE alum or WWE tag team specialists. So this is a real chance for AEW to rebuild their tag team division from the ground up with long tenured, built, recognized, respected AEW wrestlers. Brodito, of course, current Ring of Honor world champion, excuse me, he'll be defending that this Friday. Brodito, an accomplished tag team specialist with Aleister Black, Kings of the Black Throne, were tag team champions for a different company, and a very well accomplished trios champion who, of course, held the AEW six-man tag team championships for 25 weeks with Buddy Matthews, get well soon, and of course, Aleister Black, formerly Malachi Black. But yeah, it just feel like to me though that I think the Hurt Syndicate was just going to hold on to them a little longer. I was thinking that someone was going to be there and do it would be, just babyface traditional. But at the end of the day, Bobby Lashley, son of Benjamin, heck, Bobby Lashley has yet to be pinned at all in AEW. So I guess it still protects the team in a strong sense, and it does give them a different storyline that makes sense in the long run if on AEW. But I think they really took a big chance here. And despite the messy finish aside, where it wasn't maybe fully executed, that's not a here or there. The result still stands. Brodito are the new tag team champions, the most biggest lopsided prediction of the entire night. That being said, of course, that wasn't the only championship that maybe threw people a little bit off guard. You're seeing, of course, the later halves, of course, the TV championships. It was kind of like a no-brainer we're going to retain based on their short run. But it's interesting looking at the disparity proportions when it came to the women's and the world championships. Because in my opinion, if any time was going to change hands, I thought it would just be the tag titles. I was right, wrong team. I didn't think no other times were going to change hands, but clearly some people have other thoughts. You included when it came to not only the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, but the AEW World Championship. So where do you want to go from here?
So I just want to put a button on this. Thank you, Charles. Welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe to both of our channels. It means a lot to us. Yes. Right. So a three-way triple threat with a champion involved traditionally, in a traditional wrestling booking sense, is a way to get the titles off of your current champion without them having to take the pin. So I can't fault them for that decision. If they want Brodito with the championships, that was the way to do it. Having them go over on Lashley and having him take a pin and stuff like that way too soon. That's why I was either it's FTR or it's Hurt Syndicate. Now I would like to go to the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. The thing with Nigel McGuinness is I'm a huge fan of his. My main movie podcast that I watch, he's good friends. You're the man, Charles. He's really good friends with the podcaster that I love watching, and he came back from his injury. He's finally back in the ring now, and I thought this was a good opportunity. I believe it's his first title opportunity since he's recovered from his career ending. Let's just call it. It ended his career.
Yeah, 2012, and it was the second because he challenged for the Pure Championship last year at Final Battle against Lee Moriarty under old school Pure rules. But World Title, you are correct.
Yes. And again, like I said, I'm not that plugged in. All I saw was Nigel McGuinness's name, and as a fan of his, nothing against Zack Sabre Jr. Obviously, it was me and David that were on the outs on this one. I really thought that it felt like a good opportunity to give the man who worked incredibly hard to get his health back on the right foot and back into the ring doing what he loves. This is a very Corey Graves type of situation, right? I think they're very similar, right? They were forced to essentially retire, went on commentary, crushed it, and
Oh, yeah.
then now Nigel's being able to come back via the Daniel Bryan, via the Adam Copeland type of neck health and what we understand about its ability to, affect your life long term if you get back in the ring. It could have gone either way. Usually with these cross-branded promotions, because this isn't just AEW, it's also, the IWGP, and I probably should have gone with the current champ retaining. It seemed like, other than the Hurt Syndicate, every current champion retained.
Yeah.
And that's typically what you see in these crossover events. The titles aren't going to go to some other company. Like, they're usually staying in the company. But WWE and TNA, or NXT and TNA, has me thinking maybe the titles can be going to a guy who's not out on the active roster on that company. So that was where my mind was at. And you win some, you lose some.
Well, Nigel McGuinness, being former Ring of Honor World and Pure Champion, held both those titles with brilliance to his career, combined 800 plus days. Historical rivals, of course, against the likes of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. I found ironic that Bryan Danielson was on commentary for this, and Nigel McGuinness was so blatantly biased towards that clam digger. And of course, Bryan Danielson owns victories over both of these men. And shout out to Renegade Wrestling, JJ Williams. Appreciate you, bruv. Again, stay tuned, folks, with the Renegade, of course, host the weekly moderate conversation wrestling match known as Saturday Shenanigans here at the Super Reliable Studios, Saturday night, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Stay tuned. Support my friend, the Renegade, today. Appreciate it.
And
But
JJ will also be a guest on my podcast in the future as well. So stay tuned for all of that, guys.
yeah, all the podcasts, all the wrestling.
Honestly, the way I see it, there can't be enough fun people to listen to talk wrestling out there. Not
so
only
many
do I
different
watch
ways.
your stuff, you watch mine. We watch Aaron's stuff, the No DQ, everybody's stuff, and the CVVs of the world and all that bigger
Denise
stuff
Salcedo.
for sure. So, and now I'm starting to get in the wrestler podcast, talking one-on-one with other wrestlers. Like, when you love wrestling, like, you can't get enough of it, except for when you have 9 hours of TV time. Maybe that's starting to get a little tired. But hearing them talk about the ins and outs and what they thought process, very fun. Having said that, you got this answer right. So did 10 others, but 11 total people got that one right. So it was pretty lopsided overall.
Well, again, Zack Sabre Jr. just won the title back in June against Hiroki Goto at Tanahashi Jam. He was going to G1 Climax as defending G1 champion, and this time the IWGP World Heavyweight champion. The title he won based on winning the G1 Climax last year against Tetsuya Naito and Ryogoku Sumo Hall. But it's just one of those things right now. I just didn't see them necessarily giving the title to Nigel McGuinness, but I loved how preserved, how pure this was in a celebration of British technical wrestling to the finest. When you consider the influence that Nigel McGuinness and Zack Sabre have had, a match arguably over 14 years in looming, thinking about each man's respective careers. To your point, one man's career was basically cut and dry. We thought he was done with. Here he's going out on his own shield in his own pure form, pun intended. And it just made sense. Honorable respect. Zack Sabre Jr.'s got Konosuke Takeshita waiting for him now, a man that beat him during the G1 Climax, and vice versa. They're 1-1, so it makes sense for that rubber to happen. And according to NJPWworld.com, NJPW1972.com, that match will take place at King of Pro Wrestling once again. So it will be Zack Sabre Jr. versus the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. But for me, I didn't think Nigel needed a title again. I think he already got the biggest moment he could. You think about celebrating this with Johnny Saint and Marty Jones at ringside, his family there at ringside, his greatest rival, Bryan Danielson, on commentary at ringside. He's having the time of his life and finishing the career that he wants is his own way. I think also with the love of wrestling, you want those that you follow, that you love for their artiste technique or character development or presentation. You want them to finish the career their way. It was very abrupt for Nigel McGuinness in 2012 when the business wasn't given back to him in a way that he loved, to the point it destroyed his body. And to your point, he did stay in tune for a while as commentary, but you could tell that someone was missing. And that moment last year at All In at Wembley Stadium reignited the fire Nigel needed, saying, I want this again. Let's finally do this. I'm so damn glad they finally did this as a fan of pure wrestling, going all the way back to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Ric Flair in the late 1980s. Thank you, Jeff Meacham, by the way, for that. It just felt good to me because I love scientific wrestling. I'm a math and science guy. I'm all about statistics. I'm all about chess. I love chess, by the way. But I'm also about the idea of human biomanipulation and the chess game you play in the ring with this technique that is not presented enough or respected enough, in my opinion, in this business. People like Natalya, that still aren't champion, pisses me off to this day. Why can I not get a forum where you could have Shayna Baszler, Serena Deeb, Natty, and all those other people we see in Bloodsport, for example, demonstrate what they can do not just in Bloodsport, but on a bigger stage? They deserve it. Shout out to Virtuoso Dion Purrazzo. But nonetheless, the roots of British wrestling go so far back to a technical, simpler style. King's Road of Japan, Pro Wrestling Noah, considering Sasha was trained out of there. Taka Michinoku, JTO. It was just pure cinema for me to watch this play out, to see what strategy worked. And at the end of the day, it wasn't a submission. It was a pinfall. He anchored himself, literally pushing all the pressure on the shoulders of his body while also anchoring the arms, and he pinned Nigel here. So similar to Bryan Danielson, technique is technique, but Zack Jr. was the right result. It was a matter of how he got there that I care more about this match, and I'm so glad it delivered. As far as Nigel, I think he should do something about this generation, like what he did with Lee Moriarty at Final Battle with the Pure title. Daniel Garcia has been very close to him in his corner. Of course, you saw a collision, the technical spectacle came down to Daniel Garcia, and Nigel begins the submissions. I want Nigel's match to right now at this point be Nigel versus Daniel Garcia, and he passes off that knowledge to Daniel Garcia, saying that you could become the next best technical wrestler. And maybe that builds towards Zack Sabre Jr. Can't do Bryan Danielson anymore because Bryan, of course, is retired. But I honestly think Nigel McGuinness at this point, he just had the biggest moment of his life. There's not much more he needs beyond that besides ushering in the next generation of technical wrestlers. If nothing else, that is a masterclass for people to study when it comes to professional wrestling.
I love that. Now, moving on to another championship that was recently obtained and then defended against that I got wrong was, I know there's a theme with that. Shout out to David. We've both got the same things wrong in those two matches, so we were feeling that same thing. He did get the correct one on here. I chose MJF, the AEW World Championship. Adam Hangman Page, let's just call it what it is. He is a star for that company. I don't like him as much as I like MJF. I think MJF is their Randy Orton. I think he is their AEW's, like, almost if you combined Randy Orton and John Cena. Like, he's what MJF is what that could be for AEW. I get it. We just got a new champion. You're probably not going to switch the hands, but this is professional wrestling, and I want to believe that they will pivot or they will go with where the wind is blowing. MJF came off of one of the most popular, most streamed movies in the entire Netflix universe until K-Pop Demon Hunters came along and smashed that. But for live action, Happy Gilmore 2. And not only was he just a throwaway character like Becky Lynch who had 3 words to say over 70 seconds, he was Adam Sandler's oldest son and was in multiple scenes. I'm thinking you push that guy. Anybody who sees him, he was acting like a fool and whatever, but he's supposed to be Happy Gilmore's son. That's exactly what you'd expect. But he's big, he's got a screen presence, and he was funny. And I feel like that could have driven viewers to this pay-per-view, to this product, and they want to see this guy. I know I do. I want to see him winning matches. I'd rather them have booked MJF, and I said it last night, I'd rather them book MJF like Roman Reigns and keep him away from the title picture until you're ready to put the strap back on him. When MJF is on top, that's when I watch AEW the most.
Okay.
I'm not hating on AEW by any means.
I know that.
I like MJF more than Hangman Page. I think that Hangman Page was a good person to beat Mox. Nothing against that. I just think that MJF, like, where does he go from here now? Like, I'm trying to think like steps ahead. Like, you make a decision, where do you go from here? Hangman Page obviously has the scrap. MJF, what is he going to be in another throwaway feud? And they didn't even have this match closing out the show. I am about as done can be with the major championship. It's fine for the World Heavyweight Championship to open up WrestleMania night one, but the main championship in that promotion closed the entire event as these matches should. I know you got your little your little lights out steel cage whatever, and that implies it's the last one. Whatever.
Right.
I went with my heart on this one again instead of my head, and that's why I had probably more losses than anybody else did on the evening. And I'm okay with that because if you go with your heart in anything in life, really, whether it works out or whether it doesn't, it was the correct decision. And I stand by it. But Noah, here's another one that I got wrong that you got correct.
Well,
so, yes.
The way I see it is this, and I love that take that you have, because sometimes thinking with your mind versus your heart, it either costs you or profits you. Here, I was thinking with my mind because I look at the history of AEW. To your point, folks, I've watched AEW since day zero when it was nothing but a fever dream out of AEW All In, or excuse me, just All In 2018, where they took a challenge to put 10,000 plus people in an arena in Chicago that was nothing but independent wrestlers led by Bullet Club at the time, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, the Elite. And then, of course, AEW came into fruition, of course, the very first AEW, May 25th, 2019, I will never forget. And John Moxley came at the end of that show as a paradigm shift. But before that, two key men to this day, day oneers, still define that championship and very much the identity of AEW as we know it. Hangman Page and Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. But here's another caveat that really brought home for me. MJF still has a guaranteed AEW World Championship match anytime he wants. All he's got to do is sign the dotted line, and 1 week later, he's got that match. But here's the thing about MJF, the wrestler. He is a manipulator, an influencer. He will take every possible insurance policy he can to get his way for sure can and make sure at the end of the day he's the talking point and proves to you why he's better than you and you know it. But the story with him and Hangman, what did MJF call it? The main protagonist, the ultimate and analogous, the person that's real. It's one of those things where MJF doesn't need the championship to be the focal point, but him having the championship would probably draw more eyes to the product. But again, Hangman's 2-year journey through hell to redemption at All In made sense. And I think they really want to push forward with this because the first championship run was so forgettable. And of course, all the in-between, Hangman didn't know right from left. So that's why I didn't see Hangman losing. And the story they told of MJF from the ref bump spot against Mark Briscoe at AEW Dynamite Cleveland that got him closer to this, to Mark Briscoe, still wanting to take MJF's head off for calling his family name into practice. The ultimate sin against a Briscoe, just saying. Contract, diamond ring, low blow, making sure disqualification and count out could cost Heyman here because Heyman's been a volatile hothead. Emotional exploits, mental warfare galore, and of course the physical capabilities of MJF that goes beyond most people in the business itself. It was a great story. It's the third one-on-one encounter in their history in AEW, and earlier this year at Revolution, Heyman beat MJF when it was non-title. The very first time, of course, was over that diamond ring that MJF still uses to this day. Hangman and MJF are going to lead AEW. You compare MJF to a fusion of John Cena and Randy Orton. I honestly call Hangman and MJF the John Cena and Randy Orton of this company because Hangman is so polarizing. MJF is so manipulative, but you still respect the man because he's that damn good. As far as I'm concerned, as long as AEW has MJF and Hangman, you always have the main players to watch out for in this company. Championship be damned whether or not it's around either man's waist. So it just made sense for me right now with Hangman going into, let's also keep this in mind, his second defense. I did not think they were going to pull the trigger yet with MJF still having another guaranteed shot. Now, here's the other subplot. You talk about sub story. Before this, they were teasing the idea of personal versus business with him and Bobby Lashley because they had a fallout with the Hurt Syndicate, and people were wondering why they cut ties to MJF and the Hurt Syndicate so soon. So I do see a bit of a longer play. And the thing is, MJF, he's got Bobby Lashley probably breathing down his neck. He's got Mystico. He's the CMLL World Middleweight Champion, by the way. That's a whole nother sub story. He's invaded CMLL and MLW, embarrassing Mystico. That's a title match waiting to happen. And as far as Mark Briscoe's concerned, he probably wants to set MJF on fire. So right now, there are 3 key story plots to keep MJF busy where he doesn't have to work hard, but he still is a focal point. And Hangman has to consider that he will always be looming. But this time, you're going to sign it, you're going to earn it, or you're going to take it. You're not going to goat me into it. And that was the original plot. Now he did that. So MJF's only trump card is that contract. But right now, is it about getting back at Heyman immediately? Or is it about getting back at Mark Briscoe? Is Mystico breathing down his neck? Or is Bobby Lashley going to come and try and hurt him? There's a lot going on for MJF, and Heyman right now doesn't have no clear direction or opponent. So I think that's the more interesting aspect here. And I think the idea of not knowing what's next for Heyman is another reason why I went with Heyman holding on to the championship. It just made sense for me right now.
And I love the logic when it comes to predicting this, but the fact that everybody wants a piece of MJF speaks to the fact that he should have won the championship. Plus, the stipulation got me. If the title can now change hands through count-out disqualification, like, why do that? Oh, I know why. So they can do a 9.99 second count and then have him get back into the ring, make it real be close. But
like a spot.
Just like with the tag team 3-way, you're doing this as a way to have somebody lose without having to eat a pin. And the fact that Hangman has nothing lined up, like, you want your champion to have stuff lined up. Like, this is what I was saying about Naomi and everybody that's mad that her storyline's up. Like, they obviously had no idea what they were going to do with Naomi after the Vakir match. Was she going to win? If Naomi won, then obviously they weren't doing anything. She was the second fiddle in her own. So when the champion is not the focal point of your biggest stories too, I find that a little bit disheartening and concerning, but it does keep Hangman relevant, and MJF's relevant in their current state. Hangman needs the championship to be relevant. MJF doesn't need the championship to be relevant. All the more reason why he should have the championship, but I digress. I think that it would be time to move on here. As the person who got the most wrong, I'm realizing this, that I got the most ones wrong.
Yeah.
2 of them I voted with my heart. One of them I thought I was voting for with my head, and the other one could have gone anyway. So let's go over. We might as well cherry pick what I got wrong. We'll go over to the lights out steel cage match.
Oh, here we go.
The Death Riders storyline is the biggest storyline AEW has going for all the wrong reasons. You see more hate for the Death Rider storyline. And you know what? Maybe that's the freaking point. It is wrestling after all. It is all a work. If they're making you hate them, if they make you hate them and they're the bad guys, then that's what the end game is. That's what it being a true heel is. Right?
Yeah.
So I should have gone with the summiter of Mount Everest, and I should have gone with Ospreay and Omega because I've been begging them to have Ospreay on a more of a elevated level. To my understanding, he still hasn't won the AEW World Championship, and that is belligerent in my opinion. You got Omega, who is probably the closest thing to like the uber babyface that they have on the roster, that uber John Cena, that super Omega, character, but he plays a lot more like Chris Jericho to me, like a younger Chris Jericho, like a young Lionheart, which I love. I love Omega. I love Ospreay. I mean, I'm starting to love Darby Allin. And is he bound for a championship at this point? Like, I predicted Darby. Was it Darby? Or was it Orange? It was one of the 2 that was fighting against Moxley. I predicted it, but I don't think I submitted maybe I did. Maybe we're missing my predictions from a few events ago, but I digress. I thought that the Death Riders were going to do it. They just have more of that steel cage intensity. right? The same reason why I picked Drew McIntyre to beat CM Punk in the steel cage or the Hell in the Cell.
Right.
I was just going with, like, you're going to keep pushing the Death Riders. You have Moxie lose the title the last event. He's probably not going to lose this event, loses this event. And I'm taking my knowledge of wrestling into this instead of taking it at face value. And this isn't WWE, Gino. This is AEW. There are different, precedents that have been set. There are different booking trends that appeal to the people who are making decisions over there. And I'm not saying it's a bad choice to have Darby and
No.
them win. I think that it should lead somewhere. The Death Riders is going to keep going down, and then they're going to implode, and everybody's going to be finally happy when somebody on them turns on each other, whatever. I don't know, but obviously you were on the pulse of the booking on this one. You got it right. What made you go with the Summiter of Everest and his company?
Well, considering this is AEW Forbidden Door, and you have two of the absolute greatest they have AEW right now, and Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega, and you have President Hiroshi Tanahashi in New Japan for wrestling his last match in the UK. That was one of the facts right there. But as far as the story goes, the Death Rider campaign literally picked up shortly after Forbidden Door last year, when John Moxley lost the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to Tetsuya Naito and took a hiatus. Came back to AEW Arena Shafir, confronted Tony Giovanni, said, "This isn't your company anymore." And then you look at the domino effect. You look at what happened at All In last year, where Claudio, Pac, and Yuta won the Trios Championships. Shortly after that, we saw Darby Allin confronted by John Moxley, and Don Moxley and Darby Allin have been locked in each other even before AEW. Hell, Darby Allin faced John Moxley for the championship during the freaking pandemic, and afterwards, Moxley says, "You can ride with me anytime." Maybe that was some foreshadowing long-term storytelling. But nonetheless, this Death Rider campaign truly came at a head when John Moxley seized control of the championship back at Wrestle Dream last year. And arguably, I look at this starting with Darby Allin taking his championship opportunity at Grand Slam. This Death Rider storyline surrounds not AEW and John Moxley, but John Moxley and Darby Allin, who have not had a one-on-one since Grand Slam last year, when John Moxley punched his ticket to get Bryan Danielson a Warrior's death. And Darby Allin basically was kind of like an ally here in this war with Will Ospreay. Ospreay is the one that pulled the trigger on this after they tried to break his neck. But also looking at where we're at, the O2, 30 minutes away from the Bruff's house in London, it felt like Will Ospreay truly was going to go all out on this because he didn't know what his future was going to be, and I didn't see him losing. But I also didn't see that level of aftermath, but in context, it makes sense because it drives Darby Allin even more furious, and AEW for that matter, to take out the Death Riders. So that's kind of my thinking towards that. Tanahashi was just a nice little addition with the fact it's his last match in the UK and the history he has with Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, and Kota Ibushi. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, of course, Golden Lovers going all the way back to DDP Pro in 2010. So for me, I looked at this being another win for the baby faces in the war with the Death Riders, where the final battle has to conclude with Darby Allin and John Moxley. But how do you escalate that? Once again, Darby Allin is unable to save somebody from John Moxley and the Death Riders rap being completely destroyed. He was unable to save Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream last year. And he also basically went, unable to save Will Ospreay, who basically was given the ring, and then the Death Riders literally tried to kill him. 5 paradigm shifts and on a stretcher later. And the subtle emotional farewell, love note, encouragement from his life. Wins narrated before the match. I see on the cake to tell me Will Ospreay was not losing, but you might not see Will Ospreay again. Cause and effect made sense. Match result made sense to me in all that context. Now I'm super curious what AEW does to build off the fact that Spot's gone with both Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. It's time for AEW to really step up with their original talent. And this is a huge chance for that. But as far as the Death Rider thing goes, Darby Allin, John Moxley, fatality. Until then, keeps going.
Okay, perfect. Now, in the effort of time, we do have a whole other show to get to, but I did want to address in one foul swoop the CBS Championship, the Tag Grudge match, and the TNT Championship. But before I say my thoughts, I want to hear what you have to say. I got to go run and turn this alarm off, so I'll be right back. But I'm going to be listening.
All right, no worries. So basically, the way I see it, TV championships are showcase championships. They only change hands within a 50-minute time limit. But also, these champions, Kyle Fletcher particularly, just earned the title. I think Kyle Fletcher is literally one of the stars that AEW can build a future off of. People like Sky Blue, Kyle Fletcher, Chris Statlander, MJF, Heyman Adam Page, all AEW originals. Jamie Hayter, I think, are foundations of AEW's future. Now, all Jamie Hayter has to do is avoid being injured. But for me, I didn't see Kyle Fletcher losing. And the fact right now he's taking on this unique spread of talent, from the harshest fighter to the quickest, most insane, resilient fighter from New Japan Pro Wrestling, it's a nice touch on this open championship challenge for the TNT Championship with partners of AEW. Now I'm just waiting for somebody to show up from CMLL, for example. As far as Mercedes Moné, this match proved two things. They want her to beat Jade Cargill's record that she's less than 60 days winning. Alex Windsor, Homecoming, Persephone, CMLL. They might do Persephone versus Mercedes Moné at some points. Persephone was the one at the fall. And Bozilla, I think she's on AEW's radar because she's second generation. She's very young, 21 years old, by the way, folks. 3 years in the business. Put that in perspective. From Deutschland, shout out to Big Baller, Big G, OGB1, acknowledge. I just think it made sense for those titles to not change hands at all. And I love the fact Bozilla was protected so strong as a force you had to neutralize or make sure it's not involved in the decision. And as far as Adam Coleman and Christian Cage, first match together as a tag team in over a decade, no way they're losing, because when Cope arrived, what he wanted to do, show them what we can do while we're the best tag team ever. They took a long story to get there, but due to the fact they are tag partners out of circumstance that could once again bring up awesomeness, you had to let them win, or pretty much this was all over before it could begin. And the fact that Nick Wayne wasn't there added to that, as Kip Samuels is the one that hit the fall. So for me, those three matches were the most obvious to call.
And that's why they're all lit up green. You're not going to bet against Mercedes Moné. It's funny though that it's you bring that up, because I didn't realize that she was that close to Jade's record. But it's unrealistic to think that Mercedes Moné is not going to come back as Sasha Banks at some point in the future. So I really think that AEW would have been better served maybe letting somebody else have that opportunity to hold that record. The people that are either former WWE alums or that are eventually WWE bound, call it like it is. I mean, if Mercedes is getting all this money, I doubt she's going to get that in WWE. So maybe she doesn't go back. Maybe she's got like this agreement with them. She's got like every championship known to woman, and it is what it is.
Right.
Adam and Christian. I mean, come on. There's no chance. There was no chance that you're having the other guys go over.
No.
Like, it would just be the most tone deaf choice from a Booker standpoint.
Yeah.
Period. And as far as the TNT Championship, I went with the current champion. It's a cross promotion thing. They're going to keep it on the guy who's been holding it for a while.
Yeah. Title. And
as
far as the
as we see.
Yeah, I'm about to say. And as far as the AEW Women's World Championship, I'm surprised that wasn't unanimous. With all due respect to Athena, with all due respect to women in wrestling that hold a championship, there has not been a more recognized, respected, at the forefront, polarizing, and dynamic storytelling with every comparison she's in the ring with than Thomas Toni Storm in the professional wrestling business, in my opinion. And also, she just made Athena submit. Again, making those wins matter more. Hannah Mercedes Moné, her first defeat at All In, and Athena just got submitted, I believe, for the first time since being signed to AWROH. So again, you're not going to beat Thomas Joy Storm even with a bad neck, but that was a nice touch to the story. I just want to add that as well, because as far as I'm concerned, I respect the AEW Women's World Championship more than most women's champions right now in the business.
It deserves that respect. It's not being hot potatoed. It's got a great champion that you can believe in, period, end of discussion. And you're going to keep that on her until they're ready to give it to Mercedes Moné. But that's only when, I don't know if Toni Storm would go back to AEW or go back to WWE, because, she left because they weren't utilizing her. Sasha Banks was being utilized. She's just hard to please, obviously. So there's a difference there, I think. But I'm glad you mentioned Thomas Toni Storm. We couldn't have ended this segment of the predictions post-mortem before switching to NXT without at least acknowledging our can go in the ring with anybody, can do anything, probably the best women's wrestler out there. all things considered.
Yeah, and if I'm
Storyline,
going to look,
character, ability to work. Yeah.
I'm about to say, for me, I want an AEW original ticket offer. My top two that I want to see trying to offer: Jamie Hayter or Chris Statlander. Both were to be an AEW Women's World Champion. One was previously short run though due to injury. The other one has yet to become AEW World Champion and has been one of the longer term workers here. I want to see it come down to Chris Statlander or Jamie Hayter that takes the title off her. That's my opinion.
All right. And with that, we close the coffin on 2025 Forbidden Door. Thank you guys so much for your AEW support. We are going to be switching over to NXT, but first you look at how it all broke down, the whole thing. I'm in white there, not because I'm awesome, but because I am debuting. And as you can see, it was my first submitted picks. And I did poorly. But there's only one way to go from there, and that's up. We will see. Now,
Right.
wait till next week when you see the WWE Post-Mortem, because your boy stay on top.
We'll see about that. We'll see
Yeah,
about
we
that.
will see about that. And but for now, we're going to switch over to NXT, an event. Admittedly, I didn't have the free time to be able to go watch it live. When I tuned in live, it was when Oba Femi was about to come out. His entrance is captivating to me. His presence is captivating to me. It's almost like Apollo Crews, like 5.0, right? Apollo Crews tried the fake Nigerian accent for a little bit. You know, he tried the whole, you know, I'm like a Wakandan warrior type of thing. And I honestly liked that. But you couldn't have it going when you brought Obafemi in actually living the gimmick, because that's who he is in real life. So we might as well start off right with this match, because I am so high on Obafemi. I was texting you, everybody in the group chats, everything, saying this is the first time I ever watched a match hoping hoping that my guy didn't lose versus hoping that he won, right? I'm fine with needing to drop the strap, especially in what's considered the minor leagues before you go up to WWE proper and the main roster and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Javon Evans has gotten the rub from Randy Orton. He's gotten the rub from all these guys. He's clearly great. He's been working his tail off the last year to put muscle on, to make himself more believable as an actual professional wrestler and not just a young, bouncy kid, right? We all know in any sport that type of that stuff has an expiration date on it. So put more muscle on, start getting stronger, being able to lift these people up, make it more believable. And speaking of lifting people up, my God, Simple Man, he got sent, yeeted.
That's the definition of yeeting somebody.
Mm-hmm. He sent him through that in about the safest possible way you could do it. And this is why, don't even get me started on Raja Jackson. This is why you work safely. Mean Gino's not coming up. I got my glasses. We are here having a funeral for the for our predictions as we break these down and then living the post-mortem gimmick.
Damn.
But I can see why people like Walter and Slaughter and JJ and David, poor David, man, he's getting brought up a lot and for all the wrong reasons today. We love you. I can see why you thought it could go to Javion Evans, because Oba, let's just call a spade a spade. He's long overdue for the main roster. What more does this man have to show you in NXT to make you believe he's ready? The only thing I think that's stopping him, besides still hanging threads in NXT, which I don't really care about, is the lack of room on the main roster and the lack of a place in a storyline on the main roster. But if he's not done with NXT come Royal Rumble, bro, I might have to drive over to Full Sail, which is about an hour and a half away, and start, doing protests or whatever, you call that, or have a sign like, push over to the moon, man. Like, what are we doing? But it was a great match, super entertaining, well done. As you can tell, I was this is the most invested I've been in a match all weekend, and the right winner won. I would honestly be fine if he continues this tear and just leaves the title behind. Says, I don't even need this. I've beaten everybody. I'm going up to the main roster. Somebody else can fight over it. Nobody's going to beat me, and I don't need it on the main roster type of stuff. Kevin Owens adjacent type of stuff, where Kevin Owens went to the main roster, fought Cena while he was still the champion.
The champion.
But then he ended up having to lose it, didn't surrender it, and whatever. But Obafemi has all of the tools. He's what, 6'6", 315 pounds? I believe he's taller than Braun Breaker, and he's only like 30 pounds less than Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed.
This guy is the absolute full package, and he doesn't need somebody to talk for him. And if we can get the crowd, the most difficult thing about Obafemi, and I know this isn't a diatribe on Obafemi, but turns out it is. Maybe me and Gino is starting to permeate through my veins here, but the most difficult thing to get on board with him is when you're supposed to say "ooh" in his entrance. It doesn't drop with the beat; it goes in between the notes, and that for me is really difficult for me to get down the cadence, and that's on me. That's not they do a great job at NXT in Lowell, wherever they are with these guys. Shout out to Lowell, Mass, by the way, my dad's hometown. They always show up for wrestling, and they deserve all the events that WWE is willing to bring them. Be a good crowd, they'll come back. They might not give you the people that you want to see, AJ, Clash and Paris, but I digress. Noah, you also picked Obafemi.
Oh, yeah.
What made you see this things clearly like I did?
Simply put, who can beat the ruler? He is unmatched in NXT. He will defend his throne until death, apparently. But seriously, I love the fact that you put out the idea of drop off the championship, because Asuka, who is the undefeated Empress of Tomorrow today, back in my NXT for 526 days, she vacated a time when she was on her way to the main roster. And then, of course, they had a fatal four-way to figure that out. And that's when Athena, aka formerly known as Ember Moon, won that championship. In my opinion, Obafemi is justified to literally let somebody earn the throne, not by beating him, because there's no equal to him in NXT. Now, for those that watch NXT this past week, I will give you a little bit of a spoiler right now. Absolute because Science wants to take his chance against the ruler. Good luck with that. But it's just one of those things right now where looking at Javon Evans, the definition of bouncy, agile, speedy versus power, brawler, grounding, imposing. It was David versus Goliath. I just didn't see Javon Evans out of his first chance ever one-on-one for the title getting the championship yet. And yes, I know the title changed hands last year, but it was a fatal four-way. Javon was unconscious when the decision was rendered as even Page fell on the cover, all right? By the way, last year's win Ego was ushered in. But Oba right now is unmatched. Why Mark Calloway endorsed both these men, Oba owns this yard, lock and key. Add another lock if you want. I just don't see an equal to him. And he's already beaten the biggest people in this brand of NXT. From Josh Briggs to Inamura to the LFG winner, Jasper Troy, who might as well be rendered as a jobber. There is no equal right now to Obafemi, nor is there an equal with that type of power as a face to carry the NXT championship. I feel right now you're going to have to find one of the most dastardly heels with a hell of an insurance policy that's believable, desperate enough to hold on to this title by any means necessary to beat him. I don't think there's a respectable babyface that's equal, so that's why I definitely went with Oba retaining. And for me, Javon, I figured he was going to take the bump of the night, but I didn't think Oba was going to do that freaking to him. Jesus Christ. And then another fall from grace, and that's all was said and done. But I love the fact they slow burned the way to make it look like Javon had a chance. And truth be told, they did add a caveat, because during that match, what happened? Ref bump. Javon had him down. You thought there would be a champion. At least they made you believe for a moment. But either way, I still didn't believe right now nobody in NXT can beat Obafemi. That's why I don't go against him. Oba is as obvious as Roman Reigns was when he held the damn championship. That's the type of stock I acknowledge and hold Oba to. And let's keep in mind, this guy literally broke out of the Breakout 20 last year in January with no wrestling experience prior. And he's been in a WWE original that's been unstoppable. That's why I went with Oba. It was a no-brainer for me.
And that's the thing. And let's just bring that up one more time. I know we're basically turning the second half of this video into NXT Championship breakdown, but it was really nice to see the WWE or any wrestling video game, the rope break rules from video games applying. In video games, if your foot or hand is under the rope, that's a rope break. You never see it in the WWE, at least, because they're always. I mean, it's a better visual to have the foot on the rope when the ref sees it and whatever. But yeah, exactly. But like by the letter of the law, if you are within that imaginary line from the rope down to the ground, that's a rope break.
Yep.
Period. End of discussion. I mean, it looks better when somebody's about to submit and they grab the rope and blah 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 instead of slide their hand underneath. But like, and I know it wasn't maybe necessarily like Oba didn't like move his foot; it was just there, right? So it's not like he outsmarted or used the rules to his advantage.
No.
It was happenstance, and it made Javion. I'm sorry if I keep pronouncing his name wrong. Javon, I know it's how it's pronounced,
Yeah,
but I'm
good,
reading
brother.
it as I'm saying it. Javon
Right.
Evans looked great until the very obvious body and performance ability of Obafemi, the guy who screams actual professional wrestler. No offense to the guys that weigh what I weigh and are my height, but that's more what NXT's for. These guys, larger than life, freaking your Braun Strowmans, your guys like this, where you're tall
Killer
and massive
Cross
and can
at
move.
one point.
Yeah, and you just I believe they know what they have in Oba, and that's fantastic. Now, speaking of fall from grace, I would like to turn this over to Jordan Grace,
Oh yes, way.
the
Who is she
women's
anymore?
grudge match. Noah, would you like to set us up for this real quick?
It's one of those things where I felt like they had to give Blake Monroe a chance, especially if she's going heel when they really wanted her to go babyface. But how do you protect Jordan Grace in defeat where Jordan Grace has had zero momentum since being officially signed to the WWE? I was kind of hurt by this, but the result didn't surprise me. But it really shows how vulnerable they made Jordan Grace look in her star power and her believability to be unstoppable, unbeatable, Miss Comeback. While Blake Monroe, again, Glory Girl, Barbie Girl, Sabrina Carpenter reincarnated. But again, also, it's her first singles PLE. She hasn't had even 5 damn matches yet in her WWE career. You had to give Blake Monroe the win here. And I guess they didn't want to do a disqualification finish, despite the fact she ran away from Jordan Grace here at one point. But Jordan Grace is someone that I fought for the longest time since she arrived at WWE. She was main roster bound. She went in the Royal Rumble. She literally had the Knockouts World Championship. She's been in the ring with Julia, with Stephanie Valkyrie. She's been in the ring with a who's who right now in NXT. She's a leader, you would think, in the NXT Women's locker room. You're surprised she's not involved in the NXT Women's Championship when you thought she would have won the championship at Evolution, and they took a chance and tried to make a new champion shine brighter and stronger than her with a fatal influence. Jury is out whether or not that actually worked. But it's one of those matches that I'm surprised this was polarized, but I can understand also why in the long haul, because if Jordan Grace loses, where does she go from here? Is this like a farewell to the main roster on a losing note versus what happened to the likes of Bayley, who kissed everybody goodbye after losing to Asuka in a respectable championship bout, or Athena, who lost to, big time matches? Is Blake Monroe a big time match for Jordan Grace to go out in NXT on a loss, though? Hell no, especially when it's just a grudge match with even no stipulation and the first one-on-one. And am I supposed to believe the story now is going to be 50-50, hat trick, Jordan Grace wins in the end, Blake Monroe is rendered inert? This match joggled my brain, but it still was very good. And I do like the fact that Blake Monroe did show fear at times. But honestly, this match was systematically broken down by Blake, and Jordan Grace was basically made her bitch. I did not see Blake Monroe losing, but I felt they put Jordan Grace in a no-win situation in losing.
I was at that Royal Rumble that she debuted at with the TNA Knockouts Championship.
Mm-hmm.
She came in and she absolutely showed that she's definitely probably the strongest women's wrestler we have.
Pound for pound,
but
yeah.
it's the same thing with Obafemi. Like, you've got people that straight up visually, like a child, an old person, somebody who's never seen wrestling before, you look at and you say, that's the person, that's the guy, that's the gal. Obviously, Blake Monroe is more of your traditional,
Blonde,
beauty queen type
blonde
thing.
beauty. Yep.
Yeah, and all that stuff. And there's definitely a place for that in wrestling. Hey, man, I grew up during the Attitude Era. Bring back some of those extra matches if you know what I'm talking about.
That was the
But
traditional freaking sense of the attitude. Are you kidding me?
and unless Jordan Grace is going to the main roster, I mean, at this point, they've been making her look weak, 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 bad, loss, loss, loss. And you're just going to bring her over from TNA to have her put over other talent from other companies? In putting her in NXT alone was a slap in the face when we know she can go. And you brought Jade over from AEW and you didn't put her in NXT. I know maybe that they were both offered the choice and one of them chose one of them and chose the other, whatever. Jordan Grace should have been on the main roster. I think she's the perfect woman that could be holding the vacant WWE Women's Championship right
I
now,
agree.
personally.
I
That's
agree.
believable. And then she could have match with Rhea. She could have
Yes.
match with Jade. She could have match with Bianca. She could have match with Liv. She could have match with Raquel. And I think they would all tear the house down.
That she
She could
literally be the
even.
one to lead a juggernaut division.
So I went with Jordan Grace but obviously Blake Monroe's the new hotness, as far as like the new shiny toy that NXT has. They want to make her look strong. But that just speaks to my MJF booking concern from the previous segment. Why are we booking these two in a match against each other? Is it just to sell tickets? Like, we're going to put two people in a match against each other because it's the best possible matchup we can offer. But this is wrestling. This isn't boxing. This isn't UFC. This isn't the Super Bowl. You don't have to put the two best people that you have, against each other so that one of them has to lose and look weak. The last thing you need somebody like Jordan Grace to do is look weak when we freaking know she could probably throw Javion Evans further than Obafemi threw him because she's a beast and she's worked her tail off. She carried the TNA Knockouts division. And it's baffling to me. Now I might sound upset because I got it wrong. Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm a little upset by that. Blake Monroe deserves the push. Whatever, stupid name. Who cares? He came up with it. That doesn't mean that it's any less stupid. It doesn't mean I have to believe in it or support the decision to have the name change. Obviously, she's not going to use the real name, but whatever.
I am. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, right. That's neither here nor there. It just feels like you've got somebody who, again, visually fits that Vince McMahon mold of a professional wrestler, and you're having them take these L's, and it's a problem for me. It's just a problem for me. So do you have anything else you want to add to this, or should we move on to, I think that I know the next one we should be talking about?
I'm just going to say this. I know as a locker room leader, you're the one to guide that presentation. You're the one to guide the talent. But Jordan Grace wasn't built in WWE, but clearly she's learned the WWE system. But how many times does that person need to be the loser on the grander stage when you have such big aspirations for her? I'm hoping that more comes from this. Like I said, it's the first one-on-one, but it wouldn't surprise me if this does become a hat trick. And you got to imagine if Jordan Grace wins in the end, will Blake Monroe still look stronger moving forward? I still don't think they're done with each other. At this point, draft, brand split, LOL. They're going to continue this. But Jordan Grace right now, this is the most vulnerable I've seen her in a long damn time. I haven't seen Jordan Grace this broken since Deonna Purrazzo beat her in a follow-up rematch for the TNA Knockouts World Championship where she couldn't challenge the Virtuosa as long as she held the title. And it took several months for Jordan Grace to come back, rebound, and beat arguably her greatest rival in TNA. Will Blake Monroe be her greatest rival in NXT? To be continued, Dragon Ball Z style.
But that's the thing. Before we move on to the TNA Knockouts Triple Threat match, one last thing.
Go ahead.
Jordan, they shouldn't be booking this like WWE main roster booking, where people are staying around. If you have Jordan lose, go out on her shield, come to the main roster, and whatever. Maybe give her some time off. Maybe let her come in the Royal Rumble in a few months, whatever it is. But she should be like having her and Blake go back and forth, and then Jordan ultimately win, which she should ultimately win. It's gonna make Blake look weak then. So Blake's gonna lose the next two matches. Where do you go with her from there? I'm just confused. So anyway,
I'm about to say, not here or there. In the end, Blake needs to move forward. She's going to be the next shiny toy in WWE. But Da, da, da.
Yeah. I echo that sentiment. And we're going to move on to the TNA Knockouts Championship Triple Threat, which we probably would have started out talking about if this was the first segment of the day.
Right?
Because it was there was the fewest amount that people got right. In fact, only one person, lowercase Cass, got it
From
right.
Canada. Yep.
Yeah.
I swear it's a typo. No one in their right mind thought the former Dana Brooke would ever be a women's world champion. Now she's the freaking knockout world champion. This is the biggest WTF the entire day. Anyway, continue.
There's no way JC Jane was still holding on to another promotions championship. She shouldn't have been. I know that she's been putting in the work, and I've heard her story and all that stuff, and she's really changed and she's improved and blah, 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 blah. Forgive me, nothing personal, but it was going to go back to TNA. And then I, as somebody who went to a TNA taping, and they taped like 4 shows at once,
Yes.
Masha Slamovich, to me, is somebody, again, visually, you can get behind. Obviously, Ash by Elegance, dumb name, but it's a gimmick. It's wrestling, whatever. It's carnival talk, whatever. It doesn't matter. I couldn't pick her to win regardless, even if I didn't know she was Dana Brooke. Masha Slamovich has been working her tail off, but I do appreciate that Dana Brooke kind of got the last laugh being on a WWE event and then getting a win when she was, you could argue she was underutilized, but she wasn't like the best either. But
No, she wasn't.
I think about Natty and think that she kind of wasn't the best either, but then you realize
Far more deserving.
Absolutely. You realize that they're putting on great matches. They're just not doing anything like extraordinary. But with wrestling, extraordinary, it makes moments, but being consistent, like The Miz, like Natalia, like people like that can go with, like Finn Balor, they can go with anybody, make anything. JD McDonough's also kind of from that same cloth. But you and I both thought the champion was going to lose. I believe you're down there. No, you had the current champ. Okay.
I thought she was going to retain because the way I see it is this. I was looking at NXT versus TNA. Okay, so what do you do when you got an idea of a title being held hostage from another company? You do it at a grander stage. I remember Arlene and JJ had this argument about how a former WWE superstar, even if they're in TNA, will not win a TNA championship, let alone on a WWE show. And I had to be the one to freaking bring that into decision as they were going through a circle that was driving me fucking crazy. But the fact of the matter is, Jessie Jane just won it. I figured Shawn Michaels was taking a chance with this, all the way to TNA's next big pay-per-view for a big moment for a TNA original, Bound for Glory. I did not think in one out of 500 possibilities even that Ash by Elegance had a cold chance in hell of winning the TNA Knockouts World Championship, let alone on an NXT premium live event. I figured it was going to come down to Masha just getting a vengeance because I don't know what Masha's direction is without the championship or being involved in this picture. And honestly, Ash and Masha have been bigger than Jessie Jane. Hello, Naomi, third wheel, even though you're holding the damn title. If this was Fallon Henley, whole different story for me. I still think Fallon Henley should be the one to hold the friggin' women's championship. Nope, I was fucking wrong too. But someone in me felt like Heatwave. Not a big show. It's a freaking fun little experience in Lowell, Massachusetts. LOL, okay? It's nothing super major. And here they are giving Ash and the Elegance brand all the gold in TNA. No offense to Lowell, Massachusetts, but Heatwave I don't consider a major show for NXT. You all know what the major shows for NXT are? They're freaking No Mercy, based on past history, Stand, Deliver, and Deadline. In my opinion, they got 3 big ones. And here we are at Heatwave giving Ash of all fucking people the cornerstone of the TNA Knockouts division on an NXT event.
And I think that part of the feeling that Heatwave is throwaway, shout out to the Cleaver, Colin Andrews, co-moderator of the No DQ Review, says, hey, gents, we appreciate you. I think that the term heat, like as a show, holds a very negative connotation to us long-term wrestling fans because it used to just be a throwaway show before pay-per-views on Sundays. But this is Heatwave, and this is Lowell, Massachusetts, brother. Never underestimate the power of the people from Massachusetts, mind you.
Fair enough. But the show
But
aside,
I think that she might lose to Masha at the proper TNA event. My question is, who's booking these? Like, who books the finish? Is it TNA has the decision? Is it WWE has the decision because it's a WWE show? Like, that's something that I've been curious for, but that's a conversation for another show. We are in overtime, baby. So we're going to go ahead and go over to, I want to talk about something that you got wrong and I got right. That wasn't happening a lot this weekend, Mr. Foster, the simple man.
Fair enough.
But I, over a year ago, got on the Lola Vice train. I think it was just prior to her fighting, oh God, whatever her name is, and like it was like the underground. It was like the UFC style fight that they were having. And then I'm blasting her theme song in my ears at the gym, loving it, getting hyped for her. You know, obviously, our man Walter Cruz is a big fan of Miss Vice, right? And, yeah, hide your wife whenever his graphic comes up, because he's going to get slapped across the head for even having that graphic. Hide your wife. Yeah, but she has the actual toughness and pedigree of being able to be a real fighter. She's coming to WWE. She's got the looks. She's got the talent. She's got the theme song. She's got the crowd support. Stop me if you've heard me say this before today. L, 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 L. Loss after loss after loss after loss. Why are all my favorites taking L's? What are we doing here? And I was voting with my heart on this one, and maybe a different appendage. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it has to be Lola. And she better dang win the title. Otherwise, what are we doing? What are we doing, dude? Now, you had Jada Parker. Yeah. Great pick. She's been flirting with main roster-ness. Kalani Jordan, you know, she's good in the ring, you know, but she doesn't have that, like, she doesn't seem as strong. And I like people that seem strong in those things. So I wasn't going to pick her. It was between Jada and it was between Lola. And I went Lola. What made you decide on Jada?
I was thinking Lola Vice, thinking about main roster stuff. Lola Vice being involved so much with the AAA WWE partnership and time matches and singles matches, even though she wasn't involved in the Royal Rumble like Jada Parker. I felt they were ready to move Lola Vice maybe up to the main roster and figure out something with her on SmackDown so they don't have Electra Lopez anymore. I'm not saying she was going to join like Legado del Fantasma, but at the point right now, the main roster, you need to add some more women superstars there, and Lola Vice has already been making waves in AAA. And Lola Vice, at this time last year, she was challenging for the NXT Women's Championship against Roxanne Perez. Jada Parker, same way. But I thought Jada right now was the push that NXT wanted to do ever since the whole confrontation with Jessie Jane and Fatal Influence. What I should have thought about, though, is the fact that Lola Vice Kalani Jordan won a tag match against Fatal Influence, including the champion concluded. So I guess, in a sense, I was going between Lola and Jada. I didn't think Kalani was going to be a part of this. And clearly, the proportions here, where it's 3 Kalanis and freaking 5 Jadas, I was in the majority. But I was feeling they were going to give Jada Parker that push, especially after that feud she had with Lola Vice this time last year, actually, in the 2300 arena. I thought they were going to finally push Jada Parker because she really has been getting that favoritism going for it. I thought Lola was on her way to the main. I thought Jada was going to pin Kalani. Instead, Lola wrote up Jada as much as a match book that she could. So that kind of was my thing, because the way I see it for the NXT Women's Championship, Jessie Jane versus Jada, I can see a bit more attitude. I can see Jada trying to go after Fatal Influence. I can see this breaking down to something extreme, go to the streets. With Lola, I wasn't sure what direction you would do with her unless maybe Masha was on the other side of that, because I wouldn't mind seeing Lola Vice versus Masha. So that's part of my reasons for picking Jada, and damn it.
And that's the thing. You had a justification in picking your pick. I had a justification in picking mine. But at the end of the day, like, you've got Lola everywhere. You need to eventually start pushing the people who you're like pushing. Like, come on. Right. So with that said, we're going to move over again. I believe the last two matches we have to talk about, we both got correct. Now,
Yeah, the
let's go
NXT
with what
Tag
I
Team
thought was an
Championship.
absolute no-brainer, slam dunk. No offense to Jerry. No offense to my Florida brother, Matthew. The mixed tag team match. They've changed
Canada.
his belt to be Canadian. They're bringing the arguably the most over women's wrestler on the main roster right now, other than Rhea Ripley, down to NXT to support and do this mixed tag match. You mean to tell me somebody, Tyra May Steele, the newest, I believe it's the newest LFG
Yep, she
winner,
was
whatever.
the women's winner of LFG. You're absolutely correct.
I still need to watch that show. And yeah, like you do this. You've got two people, good Canadian kids, and they're bad guys, obviously, but
Ah,
they are shoving things down our throats. You've got the Pledge of Allegiance. Like they're doing all this good storytelling. I think All Ego Ethan Page is top level NXT superstardom. And Tavian Heights, no offense, bro, you're not him yet. It's All Ego Ethan Page and Chelsea Green. That was a slam dunk. Do you have anything else to add to that?
in the hot mess I trust more than the public office, and I renounce my citizenship if this country gets any more corrupt. But no, this was a no-brainer for me. I was not going against Elizabeth Page and Chelsea Green. To your point, you think 1 year ago when the era of Ego was born, he won the NXT Championship. Ethan Page is the biggest turnaround for misinterpreted booking power that I've seen a long damn time in this business. Hell, if it wasn't for Femi and his freaking dominance in NXT, I would argue even Page is maybe the face of NXT the last year alone. And Chelsea Green, so damn underutilized. This Canadian connection works so well from comedy, from character, from star power. Hell, your freaking people in Massachusetts was booing the Olympians here. I'm just saying they were booing America and cheering for Canada. Must I say anything else? There is so much potential in Ethan Page and Chelsea Green holding both North American championships. So, Ruka, you better watch out, girl. And making that the Canadian Women's North American Championship and making NXT for Canada a. I love this aspect. I love this team. And the Secret Herb is in their corner playing either goobers or goons or insurance. It's funny also to a degree as well. It's a complete package that I hope is a long call in NXT. And if it's going to continue to move forward, they had to get the win here. With all due respect, Tyra May still has zero wrestling experience. And Taylor Heights just broke away from No Quarter Catch Crew as a singles competitor when he beat Charlie Dempsey. They're not going to thrust him out the gate, let alone towards even a mid-card championship. But right now, his name an open challenge. It's preserved because you're not as good as Canada, nor the best in North America. That's what this is about. There's no way Chelsea Green and Page was losing here.
You got it right. And speaking of getting it right, you also got a new NXT Tag Team Champion.
Oh, yeah.
So did I. I'm not even like a Dark State kind of guy, to be honest, but I'm way less Hank and Tank kind of guy, or whatever they do. No offense. There's a place for all of that in wrestling. We love all the people that are putting their lives and their bodies on the line for our entertainment. Nothing against the boys.
Respect.
But it's time for a change.
Yeah,
it was time for a change.
Dark State, no leader, no direction, no mission. Numbers game, constant presence. Hank and Tank, what are they doing? Who's the competition? And they literally gave this to them when they gave them the freeboard rule. Pick your two. It's always 4-on-2. You were losing no matter what. For Hank and Tank, though, I will give credit to. Try to beat the numbers. But if Dark State's going to do anything in NXT, especially as a faction, you got to give them gold eventually. This made sense to me, regardless what two you have. And I still don't know all four of their names at this point. I think it's Cutler, Dion, Osiris, and the scrappy dude, the Shugs. That's such a name for that type of person. I'm just saying. But yeah, it just felt like to me, what's the point of Hank and Tank having these here? Disqualification? Do we really need to see this again with these two teams at this point? Hank and Tank didn't even buy beating Fraxium at WrestleMania. Don't get me wrong. They seem very capable. But at this point, they're just trying to recreate heavy machinery as frat house boys. I had to go with Dark State here. They had to have some sort of identity to them, even if they don't have a leader.
Absolutely right. I mean, there's not much more to say about that. Hank and Tank, they put over the new guys, the new opportunity to have something fresh and entertaining for the WWE fans. And yeah, I mean, I saw that coming from what felt like a mile away. I can't even believe Hank and Tank won the titles to begin with. So whatever
Right.
you guys thought, don't forget to hop in that comment section, whether you're watching live or on demand on the Simple Man Noah Foster's channel or on my channel. We do appreciate all the comments and we will address and respond to them. We're going to take a look here at how we're all looking now.
Wait a minute. There we
I'm
go.
still low. I don't do a lot of the NXT predictions. I mean, it sure looks like I does, but I kind of just pull it up. I don't do a lot of research. I don't take it as seriously. No offense. You absolutely should be taking anything seriously that you're competing with somebody in,
Yeah,
or
a
in this
friendly
case,
competition, but
yeah.
still.
But I didn't do any research. I pull it up. I pick who I feel was based on your thing. I don't even, that it is what it is. And Noah does a great job. If you want to be in the predictions league, make sure you reach out to my man, the simplest, Noah Foster.
Yeah,
And
shout out
where are
to the
we at
top
here?
30. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the leaderboards here, so I'll just go ahead and go through them here real quick for the last couple of minutes. Because again, we of course have the team, we of course have the galaxy. Here's where things stand. The team. Truly, I am all elite for life. It just seems like it's just made for me at this point. But it seems like the biggest fan here. Congrats to Walter for moving up a bit. And again, Matthew is holding it down pretty strong, 4 point gap. But again, there's still 4 shows left. All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear. And of course, World's End, that will conclude the AEW league. And as far as NXT goes, boy, did NXT finally break up a freaking 4-way tie, quite literally. Congrats to Cass holding it down while Dwayne is in second. And 3-way tie with me, Steve-O, and Matthew. And of course, we know we got No Mercy, Halloween Havoc, I believe. And then I think after that is Deadline, unless there's something else. And I don't think there is. I don't think they do anything during the Thanksgiving weekend. But as always, I like to say when it comes to professional wrestling, just have fun in what you choose, what you watch, what you pay, and if nothing else, just continue to enjoy Simply Predicting.
Absolutely, guys. Noah's got a lot of good stuff on his channel, and we really appreciate it. He's one of the most professional guys that you'll see talking wrestling
Damn right.
online.
I
Period.
try.
End of discussion. It's not just the suit. It's not just the football commentator headset. It's everything. His knowledge. He watches everything, and he's well spoken. And he's over here talking from his heart. He doesn't need a whole script of things to read. Like oftentimes I prepare a script and I prepare my statements ahead of time, which is also very professional to do. But Noah's able to do it off the cuff for the most part. And that's really impressive. And we thank Noah for having this league and our ability to do this. Yeah, man, nothing but good things to say about Noah. Always love working with you. As far as I'm concerned, come check me out on my channel. We really appreciate everything. Mean Gino will make his appearance as the moderator again next Tuesday, joined by the Simple Man Noah Foster. It is indeed the summer to fall of the Simple Man. We're going to get him as long as we can because of all those things I mentioned before and many more. And you'll have to check more of his content out to see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Got City thing coming up, Clash in Paris. I'll do a quick of a depth for its honor. AW All Out and Victory Road are the next stops across all things wrestling. I guess NXT No Mercy has to be included in that. I don't know. I'm going to do a simple session again, but stay tuned. I'm going to pick a friend to have a one-on-one free-form conversation for an hour. I had a lot of fun with Mark Griffith. And of course, JJ will always have me try and control the madness on the Saturday shenanigans as I continue to do fun stuff in and out of YouTube. As of course, this man continues to hit the leaderboards and hit the virtual courts all the time in Rocket League, keep it at 100, and also moderate the No DQ review whenever he can. And shout out to Walter Cruz, who was very happy for his Mamacita winning. But please subscribe to him, get him to 200. And to my Canadian friend Ash, who's also a lover of New Japan Pro Wrestling, give her love to as she just started her YouTube channel. If you want to find me, though, and Foster 9016 on the YouTube on X, I'm not very social, but I'll always encourage you to gesture life and enjoy wrestling, too. It's as simple as that. Gotta get your graphic in here, though, as well. And again, as long as those are my lungs, I'll continue commentating and simply predicting.
Absolutely. So I don't have my one sheet plug available, but yeah, just go check me out whether you're watching my channel or Noah will have a link to my channel in the description of his video. I'll have the link to Noah's channel in the description of my video.
Yeah.
And as always, guys, We'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, folks. Good Lord Almighty, what a freaking weekend that was. Damn it, you fucking airhead!
And we close the coffin on NXT Heatwave.
Rest in peace.